Want to learn how to make this bass on Serum? Hey everybody! Today I want to show you how to make this bass sound on Serum. Alright, so you see it's nice 808 sounding bass. So first thing, for oscillator A, we're just going to use the analog square saw WRD wave, and that's it. For oscillator B, we use the analog MB saw wave, and the wavetable set at 85, and that's just so we can get these nice super saw peaks in the waveform. There's 4 voices on this oscillator, and the D-tune is at about a 30, so that way it sounds nice and wide and full. Moving on to the filter, we have the filter acting on oscillator A and B, and the cutoff is set at around 5300. The resonance remains unchanged, but we bring the mix knob down to about 84% just to let some of those high frequencies through. And to bring out some grit, we turn out the fatness and drive. Now I want to move on to the first envelope, and the first envelope only affects the amplitude. So the attack on envelope 1 is at 0.3 milliseconds, and the release is at 1.8 seconds. Then I bring the sustain down about 1.5 dBs just to give it a bit more punch. And the decay at about 500 milliseconds for the same reason. For envelope 2, I have that affecting the filter. The attack is set very short at 22 milliseconds, there's no hold, decay is around 200 milliseconds, sustain is at about 90%, and then release is along 4.5 seconds. And this just modulates the tail a little bit. And I have it acting as a negative envelope at -37 on the filter cutoff. And you can instantly hear it gives a nice long push and pull to the way the sound starts and finishes. Next up, we're going to create our first LFO, and it's going to be a bit of a sawtooth with a curved edge. And that's pretty much LFO 1. So we're going to go ahead and route that to the wavetable of oscillator A. And we wrote that at about a 63. Next, I want to modulate the filter a tiny bit more. Bit too much. And so I ended up routing that at just a 1. Next, I want to use this same LFO to modulate the bend plus on oscillator B. And you'll see what that does in just a second. And make sure the patch is in mono. So you see how when I use bend plus, the wave shape of oscillator B sort of pushes and pulls and squeezes a little bit. It's actually bending the wave shape to give it just a little bit more fun modulation. Next up is the second LFO, and we're going to use this as just a trigger envelope for pitch. So we're going to make this very quick, as you can see, very sharp, and we're going to set it to envelope mode so that it only acts once. Now I want to route it to the coarse pitch of oscillator A at about a 29. So what that pitch envelope does is it really just makes the attack and the first hit of that sound really powerful. And there you go. That's pretty much the sound. Next up we have some effects, and so I always use a little bit of distortion on these type of sounds. I use just the tube distortion. It's all about your preference when it comes down to these effects, but distortion's always a good one. There's a fun phaser, a flanger, for this sound, I felt a chorus worked really well. It just made it a little bit wider and a little bit more movement to the sound, but overall, that's your personal preference. Thanks so much for watching. My name's Xfer. If you ever have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to answer them. As always, have a good one. Cheers.